There we go.
Did I figure this out? Oh my gosh, sorry. I feel like such an old person when it comes to all this. I know that you're big on TikTok, and I have not had TikTok since COVID lockdown. I got way too addicted, so I had to get off of it. So Instagram Live is still a new thing for me as well.
That's okay. Hey, no, yeah, I mostly do TikTok, but like sometimes I don't know stuff, so it's all good.
Great. I love it. The good thing was I've done one Instagram Live before, and yet I still messed it up today. I still requested when I should have accepted. Anyway, I'm here now. I made it.
You're here. I wasn't sure if you were going to show up because I saw you were drinking while you were out before.
I was at happy hour with my husband. We have I have 2 kids, and on Wednesday today, my mother-in-law took my oldest son, and so we like to make a little happy hour date every time that we only have one kid, because it seems like super easy when we only have a baby in the house. So I was drinking margaritas, and then I was like, I got to be back for 6 o'clock. We got to go.
Yeah, no, I would say I understand, but I don't. I'm 35 and single. I don't know what. So
well, enjoy those happy hour patio moments this summer, because they're few and far between for me. But I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me and for rescheduling with me.
No, of course. It's too bad. I know we were originally supposed to meet in person, but your flight got canceled, right?
I know, and I've done a lot of traveling in my life, and it has never happened to me where just randomly I got an email from WestJet less than 24 hours before, just saying the flight is canceled and there's no other options that were under, $2,000. So I didn't make it out to North by Northeast, but I'm hoping to be out there next year, or certainly back in Toronto again soon, so that hopefully we can do a meetup in person. That would be awesome.
Yeah, no, and I would love to see you perform either here or somewhere.
Yes, that would be great.
Wherever. But thank you for taking some time. And thank you to Mel for getting in contact with me. She's amazing.
She's the best. And I was going to say, she's the one that I has been arranging things for me. And then when I couldn't make our original date, I was like, you know what, I can email him directly, because he's, Mel has been my schedule manager forever. And she's also on vacation right now, so I really didn't want to bother her. So I'm glad that you and I could figure at least one thing out together without needing to involve her. So
absolutely, yeah.
She's
so basically
watching this right now, honestly. She's probably in Prince Edward Island watching this on her vacation, because she's that committed, which I love.
Amazing. So basically, my whole thing, just a brief intro, is I worked in radio and promotion, so I was exposed to a lot of Canadian music back in the day. And, I started posting on TikTok, and of course people love nostalgia, so I post a lot of nostalgia stuff. And then recently started to get into more newer or emerging artists, and still the nostalgic stuff. And it's just about reminding people, how much talent we have in this country,
Yes, I love that. We need people like you, John. We need people that do that, because I'm guilty of it myself, where I listen to the same stuff I listened to when I was 13, 14. And usually, though, when someone sends me a recommendation, if they actually send me a Spotify link and I listen to it, I usually become obsessed with that artist. And so every time I do it, I think I need to be better about listening to other artists, especially as an artist myself. So I really appreciate that there are people out there fighting the good fight and sharing new music with their audiences.
Absolutely. And I'll be 100% honest. I didn't know about you before Mel reached out to me.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying this because you're in front of me, but I'm so glad you, because I'm extremely impressed with your music, and of course we're going to chat all about that.
Thank you. I'm so glad. That's the best, when you look up an artist and you're not disappointed. So I'm happy to hear that.
Exactly. We wouldn't be doing this, I think, if I was disappointed.
True. You're right. So I'm glad.
Yeah. So I guess my first question I want to ask is, was your first kind of gig or your first thing with music, was that kind of working on cruises?
So no, I started singing when I was about 10 years old. I can actually see that my first voice teacher is watching this interview right now, which is really fun. I started singing in musical theater, and my first musical was Annie, and I wanted to be a Broadway star. That was kind of my dream. And I started taking voice lessons and fell in love with theater and the stage and entertaining. And as I got older, I realized that I have the vocal range of a tenor, and that I basically was never going to be the leading lady in anything, because I have quite a low, raspy voice. And that's why I started songwriting. in 8th grade because there were so few songs I could sing with my vocal range that I started writing for myself. And so then I did my first kind of big opportunity was Canadian Idol when I was 16 and in 11th grade. And I was a classical pianist at the time, using that instrument to write music and perform. And I remember after that experience, I realized two things. The first thing I realized was I love doing this. I love being on stage. I love writing music and performing it. The second thing I realized was that I was not ready yet to be in that industry. Like, I had no idea who I was as an artist, what I was really doing. I just knew I had some level of talent and wanted to pursue it. So I finished high school, and then I went and got my accounting degree. So I know I just got way cooler to everyone watching. I got my accounting degree, and then after I graduated, I thought to myself, I said to myself, I'm going to go try and work on cruise ships and see the world and play the piano and get better at being a musician. But I'm going to give myself a year to get hired, because I never thought I'd get hired, honestly. And I got hired in 2 weeks, and I was off to Alaska, less than a month later. And that propelled me into 5 years of traveling the world, being a piano bar entertainer. And while I was still doing that, when I was at home, I was pursuing the country duo Leaving Thomas. So that happened. We got signed with a record label. I stopped doing cruise ships. I was fully doing that. And then when Leaving Thomas came to an end, I was left with this kind of break that was natural in terms of, should I keep going? What should I do? And that's when COVID hit. So it gave me a year to kind of reevaluate. And then in 2021, I released my first song as a solo artist, which ended up going to the top 40. And from there, I've been able to keep getting opportunities as a solo female artist in the country music scene. So I'm very grateful that I'm still here, now 20 years later from probably my first performance, and still loving it.
That's awesome. And funny, I feel like COVID maybe for you kind of a blessing in disguise, yes. Possibly to finally push you maybe. Yes. Do you think if it wasn't good, would you still be doing like Leaving Thomas maybe?
What it caused for a lot of people was the chance to slow down and evaluate what you wanted to do. And so for me, it gave me a year to write music. And I hadn't written music in a long time, because we were in kind of this cycle of you write, you record, you promote. And you do that over and over again. And so I hadn't just had a year where I could do whatever I wanted. And so I spent the year doing that. And that's also when I was pregnant. So it just all worked out very well that I was able to have a baby, write a bunch of music. And then I'm married to my producer. So I was able to record the music and get it out there in a time frame that I feel, if it was not for COVID, would have taken a lot longer, just because of the chaos of life and performing and all the other stuff that you do as an artist beyond just creating music.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said your producer is your husband, Spencer, and I know people have asked you this, but I feel like very few people, they're with their partner, but they also work with them.
Yes.
My best, So I guess my question is, do you ever get sick of each other?
Oh, I was going to say, for sure. Mm-hmm. There are times where, like, I grew up where my parents worked together, so I'm very used to this dynamic. But what's amazing about working with Spencer is that I worked with him for 5 years before I was ever even remotely interested in him romantically. So I developed quite a professional relationship with him. And when people hear that my producer is my husband, I always want to say to them, he's also a Juno Award winner. He's not just some random guy in his basement trying to make records, and that he can do it for me for free, so that's why I do it. He's very good at what he does. And so I'm an artist that also has never been particularly interested in the production side of things, which is honestly very rare. And I don't even know if that's kind of taboo to say out loud, because there are so many artists that love that whole process, and I'm just not like that. I love writing the song, I love singing the song, and I love letting him do everything else when it comes to instrumentation and mixing and mastering. I don't have a desire to be in the studio with him while he does that. So I think he likes that, because in a lot of other aspects of our life, I'm quite controlling, dare I say. So we work really well together because we both know that we're good at our own things, and we let each other do what we do best. But there have definitely been times when, you know, he doesn't give me as many compliments or encouragement as he'll give, you know, a different client that he's not married to. But for the most part, we get along really well, and it's really nice that we can record music at our own house, you know, over a glass of wine after the kids have gone to bed. It's low stress, it's low pressure. And I definitely believe that if it wasn't for him and my manager, Mel, I don't think that I would be still in this industry, because they encourage me, and they make it so easy to get music out into the world, which is not as easy for other artists that don't have those two people working for them.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. You mentioned how, you know, you enjoy singing, you enjoy songwriting, but of course you're a triple threat. You also play your own instruments.
Yes.
You know, speaking of playing your own instruments, would you say you were inspired by Stevie Wonder to play piano?
Yes. So Stevie Wonder is one of those artists. I don't know if there's any of these for you where you're both, I'm inspired by him, and also I feel defeated every time I see him perform or listen to him, because I'm just like, why do I even bother? Like, you see Stevie Wonder on stage, and then I look at what I'm doing, and it's like not even remotely comparable. But he did inspire me to, like, as a piano player, he's a million times greater than I will ever be. But what he did inspire me to do was, he was the one for me that made a record that made me feel something as like a 12-year-old. His music was always made me happy. I remember dancing around in my room after I got his CD in my Christmas stocking. And it was the first album that really made me feel something. And I thought, this is awesome that music can do this. And so I was a trained classical piano player. I thank my parents now for making me do that, because at the time I wanted to quit so many times, but the classical training gave me the understanding of theory and music to be able to write my own music. So I'm not the greatest piano player out there, but I definitely am thankful that I can play an instrument that allows me to write music. And I also think it's about time we had some more piano in country music. So one of my goals is to bring, you know, the piano back into country music, because I think we need it more.
Okay, I like that. And I think that even might bring some new ears to country, because people like myself who grew up with pop, hip hop, R&B, I'm slowly really starting to appreciate country music more and more.
Yes.
And so, you know, if you can include.
I feel when people hear country, they're either like, I hate it, I want nothing to do with it, or they're obsessed with it. And I always describe my music as it's on the fringes of country music, because it's not, the content around it is not usually, you know, getting up in a pickup truck in my Daisy Dukes. Like, content lyrically, it's not super country. And then, like I said, I use the piano a lot, which isn't the typical country sound. However, country music for me always comes back to storytelling. And that's what I still do as a songwriter. That's why I love country music, is because the heart of it is storytelling in a way that I don't see in pop right now. And so that's why I always say I'm on the fringes of country music.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Let's go into your songs. We know a bit about you now, but definitely want to, of course, talk about your songs. So let's start from the latest one, then we'll kind of go back in time a bit. But of course, It Kills Me is your latest single. You dropped in early June, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes, came out. I actually put a video about it, like kind of like a New Music Monday thing I do on my TikTok, and just saying how I thought it sounded a bit of a mixture of like Adele and B1 a bit to me.
That's like the best compliment ever. That is the vibe that we were going for. It was originally inspired by Adele's Skyfall. I loved the idea of writing a James Bond inspired song, and Spencer had this piano riff forever. And I had the lyrical hook written down, It Kills Me. And then we wrote with two other gentlemen that I write a lot with. And it just completely, it was like a 3-hour session, and it just all came out. And then I think the video really ties it together, and just, I love the visual of it. It's so different from anything I've released before. And it's more cinematic, more sultry. And again, genre-wise, I wouldn't necessarily say it's typical country, but I'm at the phase of life and in my career where I'm just kind of doing what I want creatively, and it's fun to see new people discover it and hear their reactions to it.
And also, you get to shoot your husband in the video.
The funniest thing about that is I know the people that actually watched it fully through, because some people are like, "Oh yeah, it's great," and there was no comment about the fact that I shoot Spencer. And so I could tell the people that the first thing they're like, "I can't believe you shot Spencer." But it took, I think we had to shoot that scene 15 times because we both kept laughing. So he kind of makes fun of me because I just recruit him to be in all my music videos because it's fun. It's just a fun thing to do together. So we had a lot of fun making that video.
There's definitely a connection, and we'll talk about this shortly, where you kind of, he's your muse, or he's very, he plays a big role in your music, of course, being a producer, but also just maybe for inspiration. There's the comparisons between you and him, but also Brett and his wife Cecilia, which we'll get into shortly. Yes, because I got to interview Brett.
Oh, amazing!
Ago, he's amazing, obviously, great guy.
Yes.
You know, so let's actually just get into your song with Brett, Encore. From what I understood, at least what you've said, is that originally wasn't a duet. It was supposed to be just for him originally.
Yeah, so we were writing a song for a male, and then we were like, "Oh, this would be a great Brett Kissel song." And then after the write, I was listening to it, and I was like, "Shoot, I love this song. Like, I would love this as a ballad for my album." And then Spencer said, "Well, why don't you make it a duet?" And we said, "Oh my goodness, that would actually be amazing." But then I said, "Who am I going to get to sing on it?" And Spencer said, "Oh, well, you should ask Brett to sing on it." And I'm thinking, Brett Kissel does not have time to sing a song with me. And he said, "Well, swing for the fences. You might as well just ask him." So I wrote him an email, and he responded within 10 minutes saying, "Yeah, let's do it. I'm super excited. This sounds great. Let's do it." So that's how that happened, which is a good lesson in that you never get what you don't ask for. So you might as well try. And, you know, even if he couldn't do it, Brett is like the nicest guy and would have let me down easy. But he was fully committed. He wanted to do a music video. We did a photo shoot. Like, he was all in it. And it ended up being like the perfect combination. When I hear the song now, I can't imagine it, A, with any other artist, but B, not as a duet. When to me, it's a perfect duet. So that was a career highlight for me, for sure.
Yeah, no, it is a great, I think, yeah, you're like I said, it's meant to be a duet. And if I'm being completely honest with you, you kind of took over the song. It's really more your, I'm like, no offense to Brett, he's great, but I'll tell him that.
Thank you. No, I love that.
It's a great song, and yeah, it's like you said, and you're really true. Like, you never know whether it's me trying to pursue my thing with social media or you as an artist. You never know until you ask, until you try, right? Yes. So I like that.
Yeah, it was awesome. And the thing was, he didn't really have a ballad at the time that was kind of in that vein, like a romantic ballad. And at the time, I was pregnant with my first child, and I think it's always nice, like, clearly because my husband is also his drummer. So, I mean, we're all family, friends, our kids, you know, we all get together and it's all fun. So I think it was nice for him to do a duet with me that, like, I'm not some single young woman who's doing this romantic duet. It's like, clearly we both have our own families, but we can come together and do this really beautiful romantic duet. So that was really fun.
Yeah. I want to stick with Brett only because, like, again, I've noticed a few similarities with him and you, besides, you know, singing together and just relationships with you and your husband and him and his wife. Yeah. But also, I forget the name of his song, but when I spoke to him about one of his songs, how he talks about, you know, really kind of chasing success and, you know, moving to Nashville and kind of doing all these things, but then also back to home in Alberta and, like, just kind of embracing the little things in life. And that reminded me a lot of your song Stand Still, which, yes. And that song, like, it's very emotional, and it definitely got emotional, especially, of course, the video, where, again, it's just like remind people to take time to be still. And there's one lyric I just want to read, which really, I think, sticks out, which is, turns out the moments that don't seem to matter are the ones that will. Like, right, it's such a simple thing, but it's just very strong.
I'm so glad that you listened to that song and that it meant something to you, because that's I mean, the reason the album is called that is because that's been kind of the theme of my life for the last 3 years. And I wrote that song in Nashville when I was longing to be home. And Spencer and I were kind of trying to figure out, do we want to be in Nashville or not? We had been there for 3 months. And I wrote that song with another Albertan artist, Sycamore, who was living down there. And we ended up coming back and buying a house a block away from where I grew up. And that song it's one of those ones that I wrote it from an artist perspective, but then when I play it live, the response from people that aren't even in music or artistry or anything, like they completely get it as well. It's kind of a universal message. And it's one of the few songs that it's very hard for me to sing it live because I get choked up often. Because it was written shortly after my mother passed away. She passed away in 2018, and I wrote it a few months later, and it was inspired by that loss in my life, but then it turned into the greater thing of just like, yeah, these tiny moments. I mean, now as a mom myself, I see these tiny moments all the time, where my kids are growing up. It's my son's 2nd birthday next week, and it's already crazy to me that it's happened so fast. But as a writer, you're always looking for ways to say things in a non-cliche way. But there's a reason these cliches exist, right? And so that song is very special to me. And I love that you watched the video. It's also like obviously a very simple video, just pictures of my life. And yeah, it's one of those songs that I'm happy my kids will get to see and listen to, years down the road when I'm older. And it's this little time capsule of what was really important to me during this phase of life.
Yeah. No, I love the pictures, especially you and your sisters. Do you have 4 older sisters?
So I have 3 sisters and 1 brother, although we all look like little boys growing up because we all had the same crew cut. But I'm the youngest of 5. My mom had 5 kids in 6 years. So we're all very close together in age. And so in all the pictures, and even now as adults, nobody can tell who's older and who's younger. But I am the youngest.
Got it. Yeah, no, you definitely look similar, but no, it's adorable. Great song. Yeah. So let's go on to another. So we'll go from that one to a little bit of a lighter one, which is Death of Me. Death of Me,
Yes.
the beginning at least, I think that's totally like out of a sitcom. Like,
Yes. Oh, I love that. You're right. It's like a sitcom intro to like Full House, but maybe a little edgier. Yes.
yes. So you need to write for sitcoms.
Is exactly that. It's kind of a fun, playful take on this metaphor of just a heartbreak headed for disaster. And this song was written during CCMA week when it was in Calgary a few years ago. In the span of like 2 hours, we were looking for something to do between events, and so me and 5 guys were in an apartment, and we wrote this. And what usually happens in these songwriting sessions is we plan to write for someone else, and then I fall in love with the song and beg everyone afterwards, can I sing this instead? Can I sing this? And so I did. They let me have the song, which was great. And I love blues music. Like I grew up listening to blues a lot, and so I really love that attitude comes in on that song. And my next single coming out at the end of the summer is also in that vein. And it's very interesting to me how many people that have followed my career for many years, when they heard Death of Me, they're like, that's the Annika that we haven't heard in a while, because it's like my classic sound, which is that bluesy, raspy, kind of sassy vibe.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's great. Listen, I think it's good to have a balance of everything. I know some people, like I remember talking to my friends, just like Drake. Obviously, Drake's huge in Toronto. So when he puts out a certain, like when people like the old Drake, whatever that may mean, but when he puts out new stuff that doesn't sound like usual, people are a little, like they're not too sure about it, right?
Yes. It's so interesting because I was talking about that actually the other week with someone, because I was talking about how I literally think of artists in terms of their albums. It's very rare that there's an artist that I love all their albums, but if someone will say like, oh, do you like Taylor Swift is a great example. I listened to her when I was 14. I loved her first 3 albums, and then I kind of didn't follow after that. Or Stevie Wonder, even, like there are certain albums that I like his earlier stuff more than, he released an album in like 2005 that it was great, but it wasn't, Stevie Wonder in the 70s. Beyonce, like 4 is my favorite album. But like I didn't love the Lemonade phase. Like there's just like, but also that doesn't mean you have to hate or love this artist. And you also have to I recognize this as an artist myself, that these artists are living, breathing humans that are experiencing different things. And maybe Beyonce doesn't want to sing Crazy in Love for 25 years, you know, when that's not necessarily, even if it's your favorite song and when you go to their show, that's all you want to hear. John Mayer is another great example. You know, he has this creative freedom about him that he just does not care. He does not care if you like what he's doing or he's not. But I think the reason they're successful is because you can tell whatever they're doing, it's authentic. And so that's my main thing is I want to be authentic and authentically represent who I am, not only as an artist, but as a woman in this day and time and what I'm actively experiencing. So, because at the end of the day, in 30 years, when nobody remembers my name, I want to be able to look back on those albums and see what they, feel that they represented me accurately.
That's a good answer. By the way, people will remember you in 30 years, Annika.
Well,
Speaking of that, well, there was a video, it's been making the rounds on TikTok where a guy said, like, speaking of Taylor Swift, he's like, she's reached Michael Jackson level fame, and people are like, not even close. Anyways, people like to argue back and forth.
Okay. I mean, that's because isn't she like with this, obviously with this worldwide tour, is this not like the most successful tour of all time, or does it just seem more successful because we're seeing it all on social media?
Financially, yeah, I've actually just watched on news. It's going to make her, it'll be over $1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. She's making apparently 10 million per show. Anyway.
Okay, so I have a few rungs on the ladder to climb to get to the fifth level. But I would be happy with like a 400-seat theater just singing my songs.
Yeah. Let's see. I feel like there's like maybe another song I want to talk about before we get into other stuff. Oh yes, Love Looks Like You.
Yeah.
Again, a slower song. Do you say that was the song that you played at your sister's wedding for her first dance?
Yes, I did. So that song was written completely inspired by my love story with my husband, but we were already married, so I couldn't sing it at my own wedding. But then my sister got married. I always joke, if you think it's stressful being a COVID bride, try being a COVID bridesmaid. It's more stressful. She got married in 2022 and or 2021. And so I got to sing her first dance, and that song is to me the epitome of a timeless love song. You know, it's like you could sing it to 80-year-olds who have been together for 50 years, or you could sing it to newlyweds, which I did. And that song, I just think encapsulates that lifetime love that is so inspiring to me.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm
pressure. No,
romantic, if you can't tell.
Yeah. Did you not feel any pressure to like sing at her, like to make sure you didn't mess up?
No, I was like, Ingrid, please let me sing. Like, I'm ready to go. I had been so deprived of performances for 2 years with COVID. I was ready to go. And the good thing about singing your own songs is nobody knows if you mess up the lyrics. So I was confident that it would go fine, and it did.
Amazing. Let me ask you, in terms of dream collabs, I want to ask you a dream collab with a Canadian artist and then like a like anyone else. Who would they be?
Okay, so can we still count Shania Twain as Canadian, even though she's like kind of American now?
She's always going to be Canadian.
Exactly. I grew up obsessed with Shania Twain. Again, her album Come On Over was very influential for me, and I think she's just done amazing things for the Canadian music industry, specifically for women. And I think she's timeless, and we could do a whole medley of all of her greatest hits, and I would know them all. So I think that would be super fun. And then my dream collab is with John Mayer. I just feel like if I could get in a room with him, I would hope that some of his genius I would absorb it via osmosis. But I also think it'd be cool because he's such a talented guitar player. Maybe I could bring some piano to the mix and we could come up with something really cool. So that's my dream collab.
That's too bad. I need to listen to more of his music because I really haven't, but my friend made me listen to one of his later songs. What was the one? It's like a sample. He samples Africa, you know, Train Home. Oh, it's called Last Train Home.
Yes. It's the last train running. Yes. It's such a good song. You have to, John Mayer is But the thing is, you got to listen to the album Continuum. Like, start there. When we were just talking about the albums that are like, okay, don't go for the later stuff at the beginning. Don't go for the earlier stuff. Continuum is really the like chef's kiss of John Mayer content. So start with Continuum. I would love to know your thoughts on it.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
I want to go back quickly to the Canadian Idol thing. Because again, yeah, you were Canadian Idol season 5. There is the clip of you, and first of all, you sang the song called "Super Duper Love." First of all, do you remember that? And second, people think Simon Cowell was mean?
I know,
Holy
they
shit!
ripped me to shreds, didn't they? They
What
did.
the hell?
I know. Oh my goodness, Canadian Idol is such a. When I look back, this is what it is. Like, I look back and really can tell. Like, I did not know what I was doing. I did not know what songs I was choosing. I was choosing songs that I was like, yeah, I like this one. This sounds great. Super Duper Love was Joss Stone, who I loved, but maybe didn't represent who I was as an artist. I don't know. I completely just was, because they have a list of songs you can sing. Like, it's not like you can choose whatever song you want, because they only get licensing for certain songs. And so, I chose that song. I felt great about it. I thought it was going to go so well. And yeah, they ripped me to shreds. My favorite part about that episode is you can see my mom in the audience, like, giving them the death glare. She was like, stop talking to my daughter that way. And the week before, I did a Jessica Andrews song, which again is so random that I did that, but I did. And they insulted what I was wearing and what I looked like and whatever. And then the third week, I did Vanessa Carlton. I got to play the piano, which I felt really grounded me. And I had a wonderful response from the judges. They were like, that's the Annika we've been looking for. We're glad to see you're here. Like, welcome. And then I got eliminated. So, it was, as I said, a great summer. I was 16 years old. I got to live at the Fairmont Royal York Hotel. My mom was there with me for the whole summer. I was like doing the show and then taking biology online. I mean, I was a high school kid that got like a really awesome summer in Toronto, and I met so many great people. I'm still friends with lots of people from Canadian Idol. We still keep in touch, and I'm so grateful for that experience. But the biggest thing it taught me was that I was not ready at 16 to be doing anything serious in the music industry. So I was glad I learned that lesson that way, instead of not going to university and like trying to make it as a star when I was graduating high school at the age of 17. So, and that was great.
I respect that. And I think that's good, because I think especially a lot of people in your position would have maybe given up. They would have felt defeated, right?
Yes.
Like you said, you recognize you weren't ready, and that's fair. I mean, yes, there are some people who start at a super early age and they do become successful, but that's not everyone's course, right?
For sure.
So let me ask you, what's the plan? Is it just focusing on singles now, or I think you're releasing another album soon?
Yes, so basically the way that this is organized is that I had Stand Still Side A. I had that EP. And now we're releasing the singles for Stand Still Side B. So I released 2 out of the 3 singles that I will release. And we're hoping that the rest of that EP will be released in 2024. And then my dream is to have a vinyl record that's kind of called the deluxe album. It'll have 3 or 4 bonus songs on there, because my issue is not lack of songs. It's how to get all these out, to the audiences. So there will be a deluxe album that's probably like 17 songs, and will be the Stand Still collection.
Okay.
Yes, so lots more songs coming your way.
Are you trying to, I know it's tough, because when I went to see Canadian Music Week for one of the days.
Yes.
You were there, I think, or no?
Yeah, I was at Canadian Music Week the week before my flight got canceled for North by Northeast.
Okay. Yeah, so I got to see one of the panels one of the days, and one of the things they talked about, and because again I worked in radio, is they say for newer artists it's not really worth it to focus on radio to promote your music. So I'm curious, are you focusing on radio at all, or are they playing your music at all?
I'm sure you know this from the other side of things. It's really, really hard as an independent artist to be on commercial radio. It's one of these things that how much time do you want to spend investing and shaking hands and saying, hi, this is who I am. I was very fortunate that with leaving Thomas, I was introduced to lots of radio personnel across the country doing radio tours. So I'm very fortunate in that they know me, they know who I am, and so and I have relationships with them. So my attitude is basically, here's the song, you know who I am, you know what I'm doing. If this is something that fits what you're doing, great. If not, that's fine. I've been very blessed to have quite a bit of play on CBC radio and Sirius XM. And so I'm very thankful that beyond the traditional terrestrial radio stations, there is satellite, there are other options, and people specifically looking for Canadian independent artists. So I always think of radio as kind of icing on the cake. If it happens, amazing. If not, that's okay too, because I don't necessarily think it's always about the best singer or the best song, or, you know, there's all these different factors that I have no control over. So so I've had to let that go a bit because you can't control it, but always happy if radio ends up playing some of my music.
Yeah. Did you had TikTok, or what happened?
Yes. So I had TikTok and became very addicted to all the dances and the challenges. Like it was bad to a point where my husband was like, you need to get off. I actually will probably, after this, I'll send you, Spencer and I did a Tiger King, like, mashup dance choreography thing. And he just got so sick of me, like, recording him and doing all these things during COVID that he's like, you need to get rid of TikTok. Like, this is too much. So I had to get rid of TikTok, but it was very fun for a while.
No, I think you honestly should consider going back on, because it's obviously a great way to promote yourself. A lot of artists do that,
Yeah.
you know, just social media in general. And I get it, you know, I know I've spoken to artists, like, they don't care. They don't care to, it's not that they don't want to promote, they just don't care to post. And I get it,
Yes.
you know?
Well, and for me, there are some people that, because I have, I believe I have ADHD. It's self-diagnosed in my later years, but I cannot go halfway with something. Like, that's the problem, is I say to myself, yeah, I'll just go on it for 20 minutes a day. Like, that's the problem, is I have the completely addictive mind and personality that TikTok corporate loves, because I'm like, once I get on, I can't stop. And so I recognize that in myself as a person. And most of the time I don't even have Instagram on my phone. Like, I re-downloaded it so that we could have this conversation, because it's embarrassing for me, but at least I'm learning to know my limits. So I've taken precautions so that I don't spend all my life on social media, because it can happen.
That's why you have people like me in your life to help you, promote you.
Exactly. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. Yeah, no, to be honest, I'm actually totally like leaving my job at the end of the month, just so I can, like, not like I'm not going to be making money right now, like doing this, but like, just find something else. And I'm talking to some people. I'm just trying to make connections. Yes. So yeah, just trying to pursue my dream. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
I love that. We all got to find different ways to do it. And it often we don't all have the same roadmap. And so I think that's awesome.
But yeah, so besides like working on the album, I know is it starting tomorrow? You have like 4 days in a row. Is it the Calgary Stampede, or what is it?
Yes, so I am performing at a cocktail bar that's a piano bar. It has a baby grand piano for me to play, which is like my dream. 4 nights of the Calgary Stampede. So I'm going to be in the same location. People can come listen to me sing covers, sing originals, sing country music, sing non-country music. It is going to be so much fun. So I'm actually working on my set list tonight to kind of figure out what I'm doing. And I was doing that last night, and I was getting so excited about all these songs I haven't sung in years that I get to do. Because, of course, with lots of shows, you're doing your own stuff, which is really fun. But I really have missed the piano bar vibe, where you just get to have a lot of fun singing stuff throughout the decades and from all different genres. So it is going to be a very fun time.
Awesome. No, I've never been to Alberta. I've been to BC many times. I love BC, but
you've got to come. You should come at Stampede, because it's kind of like our own little music week here, because you've got so much local talent and other Albertans and people, honestly, from other parts of Canada coming to perform.
When does it go, from when to when, Stampede?
It's a 10-day festival. 10-day, that's more than a festival, but so it starts tomorrow as a sneak peek. So it starts July 7th till the 15th. Like No, it's till the 17th. It's a 10 straight days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. I'll be away for during that time. I'm going to Ottawa and Montreal, but
Okay,
next year.
Next year, though. The good thing is they do it every year. So you'll have no excuse next year because you've got 365 days to plan.
Exactly. No, and I think big things will be happening soon. So who knows
That's
where
awesome.
I'll be.
Great.
Yeah, no, I really hope I could see you perform at some point. And yeah, I'll post some clips of this on Instagram and on TikTok. And yeah, I really do wish you nothing but the best because I really, like, you are extremely talented. And I think if you just keep going and
I
things will
will.
happen.
John, I promise you I will keep going. I'm so thankful for people like you that are not only spreading the news about new music, but for your kind and encouraging words. Because, you know, as someone that I'm like, nobody even listens to my music, or that's what I think,
Yeah.
it's always nice to hear that it has made a positive impact on your life. So thank you so much. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you. And yeah, say hi to Levi and Eden.
I will. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and energy you put into this. It's been very fun.
All right. Have a good night or rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
All right. See ya.